Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about what should Matthew Mercer do with himself now, right? All right, so let's get into this. So you're like, wait, what's wrong with Matthew Mercer? Why can't he just keep doing what he's been doing? Well, here's the problem. We live in an incredibly complicated world, and this world changes fast. And a year ago, Matthew Mercer was incredibly relevant in Dungeons and Dragons. Today, he is incredibly irrelevant in Dungeons and Dragons, and it happened very fast, right? So, what's special about Matthew Mercer? Well, I'll tell you, he's the best dungeon master on the planet, and as an extension of that, he is the best Dungeons and Dragons. He was the best Dungeons and Dragons banner carrier that ever existed. Nobody had done more to spread Dungeons and Dragons across this planet than Matthew Mercer. Nobody, right? But those days are gone, right? So Matthew Mercer has very recently been replaced by the Duffer Brothers. The Duffer Brothers are the creators of the Stranger Things show, and that has far outpaced. And like New York Times does a story on Dungeons and Dragons. They're going to put a picture of the Stranger Things kids playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? That is Dungeons and Dragons now. It's like for realsies, right? And the Duffer Brothers are carrying the banner of Dungeons and Dragons right now. The Duffer Brothers are really important for about a month, right? And then the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves trailer dropped, and you know what happened then? Here's what happened. So then we got 6 people, and I use a mnemonic to remember this. Real Purple Puzzle Siege, right? So Michelle Rodriguez, Sophia Lillis, these are all the actors in the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, okay? Michelle Rodriguez film. Michelle Rodriguez, Sophia Lilith, Chris Pine, Renee Jean Page, okay? And then Julian Smith and Hugh Grant. These are massive, for realsies Hollywood stars. Like, you know, any intellectual property in the world would be proud to have these actual real Hollywood stars presenting their brand. And guess what? The brand of Dungeons and Dragons is on every single one of these people's shoulders, at least through March. And if the movie is successful for the next, could be 20 years, okay? Like, trust and believe, Robert Downey Jr. ain't going to be disconnected from the MCU for like 2 decades. I'll tell you that right now, right? We're already working on like 14 years or something like that. It's pretty incredible, right? So at least 10, right? At least 1 decade. So Matthew Mercer was, is a little like, I'm a voice actor and I'm a good DM. Like, he's irrelevant at this point, right? Now, is that the way it should be? No. Matthew Mercer's a freaking genius. That guy is hugely talented, and he should remain relevant in Dungeons & Dragons. So how does he remain relevant to Dungeons & Dragons? And here's the other issue is, ain't nothing he got going on in his regular life bigger than what he's got going on with Dungeons & Dragons. When it comes to Dungeons & Dragons, he's king of the world, right? Like, the rest, as far as him being a voice actor, like, Tara Strong, does more in a month than he does in a year, right? Like, as far as accomplishments, right? So he ain't no world-class voice actor. He's just a voice actor, right? But when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons, he's the best in the world. Like, he has 2 now D&D Dungeons & Dragons current edition books. He has a D&D setting. He has an Amazon show, right? And he has the #1 streamed Dungeons & Dragons game in the world. Those are not small accomplishments. They're absolutely massive. Okay, so he deserves relevance. But how does he keep his relevance? Right? How does Matthew Mercer remain relevant in Dungeons & Dragons? Because right now I think he's irrelevant compared to the Duffer Brothers and compared to the half baker dozen, the half a dozen actual Hollywood stars attached to Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, like D&D hat, Honor Among Thieves. I'm coining that, right? D&D hat, right? D&D Honor Among Thieves, right? So basically, I hope that gets picked up. I want to see that gets used. I don't want to own it. I just want people to use it. D&D hat, Honor Among Thieves. So here's the thing. So he's been shoved to the side. How does he become relevant again, right? Well, I think there's a path, and I want him to be relevant. I don't want Matthew Mercer just swept into irrelevancy and forgotten, right? But he's got it. But you can't just keep doing the same old crap and think you're going to remain on top. You can't, right? You've got to switch it up, right? So one, the whole I streamed a game, blah blah blah, with people who never read the PHP, and I'm the best D&D in the world, and I carry all these players. That's all finished, right? We're seeing the end of the third season. Everybody wants to see it finished. That's fine, right? But like the stream game thing, it's done. Like it was incredibly valuable, but you need to move on, right? So what does Matthew Mercer do now to be remaining relevant? I think he is perfectly positioned to do the thing that we need most for Dungeons and Dragons, and that is 74 University. I'm sorry, 74 College. 74 College. A real college called the 74 College. Dungeons and Dragons was created in 1974. Matthew Mercer is not going to... Wizards of the Coast is not going to say, yes, Matthew Mercer, you can run an official D&D college. I don't think they would. I don't think it would happen, right? I think first of all, I doubt he'd even try to ask them, and one, there'd be so many blockers, it could take years to get an official D&D college, right? But you could do a 74 College today, and you could say, hey, I'm going to launch 74 College to create 74s. What are 74s? 74s are masters of combat, masters of imagination applied to combat, imagination applied to interaction, imagination applied to exploration, and they run games for 4 players, right? And Matthew Mercer could start a college to say, this is how you become the best. I'm the best dungeon master in the world. I'm going to teach you how to be the best 74 in the world, right? 2 letters, 2 digits. We all get it, right? And then basically you are essentially creating a college where people will learn to be, you can't say dungeon master, to be a 74, right? Running combat, interaction, and exploration play, the combat, interaction, exploration play engine the very best you can, right? And I think this would be incredibly valuable. Like, Scott, who's going to get a degree to be a 74? Well, right now, I can tell you right now, I know some of them, right? There are literally millions of American parents signing their kids up for the most nonsense, non-productive, non-money-making degrees you could ever imagine, right? And there are millions of them. So trust and believe the people who are going to go in this first are kids who really don't need to produce anything in life and can just do art. And there are a crap ton of these super rich, super wealthy, super creative, super confident, super intelligent kids all over the country. And you could easily put 5,000 of them on any campus on the country, right? And that's why I also said college, not university. He should start a college under an existing university. And honestly, Matthew Mercer could do this. He could just pick up the phone, and I think he could pick up the phone and say, Yale, I want a 74 college starting in the fall. Let's do this. And I think they'd say yes. And this would be relevant, and it would help the D&D community, and it would help him remain relevant. I think that's the best move for Matthew Mercer. That's my opinion. What's your opinion? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.